Yo, what is up? This is my first game in the new buffed E50. Now, recently it's been buffed. The armor values from the old 197 on the turret face to 229, and on the turret cheeks 250mm to 415. These are the effective values. They are not the actual values or thickness of the armor. What I've got on this tank is actually turbo on this tank, but first let's talk about this armor. 197 where it's pointed, now it's 229, but when you check it on tanks GG, all around that lower plate, that frontal plate is 221 only millimeters. Now of course on the turret cheeks, the old effective armor was 250, now it's actually 415. But if you look in the thanks GG, the best values I could get out of the cheeks were 384. Now if you look at the actual stats of this tank, the armor values on the turret armor is only 250 on the turret face, and on the sides is only 80mm. So what we're talking about here is all the effective values. Now I've got turbo on this tank, which means 4 kilometers an hour going forward more, and 2 going backwards, but I have it on the bonus slot, which gives me 5 extra kilometers an hour going forward and 3 extra kilometers an hour going backwards. So that's 65 kilometers an hour going forward and 23 going backwards. Now of course, along with the increase in speed, also the power to weight ratio, from the standard power to weight ratio, which I believe is around 14.38. With the turbo you get 15.74 power to weight ratio, which means you can get to that speed a bit quicker. Now look at my setup. I've got turbo, I've got optics, and I've got rammer. What do I not have? What I don't have is vertical stabilizers. And why do I not have vertical stabilizers? Well, if you know an E50, you know how accurate these guns are. In the stock configuration, the dispersion is 0.29. If you run food, the dispersion is 0.27. These tanks, the guns are so accurate, you don't even need to run vertical stabilizers. Now, in case you have any kind of, if you don't know how vertical stabilizers work, vertical stabilizers, they give you a 20% improvement in the dispersion when the tank is in motion, when it is moving, when the hull is traversing, when the turret is traversing. When the tank is in motion, that's when vertical stabilizers are going to be the most useful. It reduces the dispersion by an extra 20%. But if you have a fully aimed shot, dispersion does not help you. So basically, your stock dispersions of 0.29, whether you have vertical stabilizers or not, they still remain at 0.29. They only actually help you when you are moving, when you are traversing your turret, when you are traversing your hull. So that is why I don't have a vertical stabilizer on my tank. The stock dispersion is already 0.29. When I run food, it's 0.27. So why did I use the turbo? Well, the turbo gave me a little bit of advantage here. It helped me get up to this position right behind the windmill quicker than the enemy, and that gave me a little bit of an advantage. And just 4 minutes into the game, I've already done 2,749 damage, and with the up-armored turret face that I have right now, I've already blocked 2,220 damage from the enemies. So the turbo has helped me get up here quick. It gives me a little bit of mobility in terms of when I'm wiggling around, because of that higher power to weight ratio, which is 15 point something, if I quoted that correctly, 15.74 right now. It means that I can wiggle the tank, I can traverse the hull and the turret a little bit quicker than I could with the stock configuration. Now with the stock configuration, 14.38 power to weight ratio. Now this tank is not sluggish, not like super sluggish, but 14.38 power to weight ratio isn't that exclusive. It isn't that great power to weight ratio. Now I could have stayed right there and fight that Tiger or that E75 1v1 and avoid that Conqueror. Maybe that would have been a better idea, but I decided to go forward and try to escape that E75 from flanking me. Nevertheless, they both caught me out. I could have done a little bit better there, but still I've done over 4,000 damage here playing this position. I died here. You know, my game just lasted about 5-6 minutes, but I've done over 4,600 damage and blocked 2,580 damage. It got me a first class here. Not bad for a first game. I did pretty well there. I'm pretty happy. I landed 18. I hit 18 out of my 19 shots. So accuracy is not a problem here. Vertical stabilizers, although it could help me a little bit when I'm rotating, when I'm moving, it helps me with that accuracy, but I really didn't need it. Now we are with Sahalas in his E50M, also mounted with a turbo, and he is in Berlin, rushing to the middle of the map. Now you are looking at the stock configurations of the E50. Again, if you have turbos in your tank, you can get up to 65 kilometers an hour going forward if you have it in the bonus slot. If you don't have the turbocharger in the bonus slot, your top speed will only go up to 64 kilometers an hour. But this is a big, heavy tank, even with a higher power to weight ratio, which is 15.7 for 10% more than your regular power to weight, more than 10% more than your standard stock power to weight ratio. It still doesn't mean you can get to your top speed very quickly, because this is a big, heavy tank. And the power to weight ratio, even though it's 15.74, it doesn't mean it is a lot. It doesn't mean you can get up to that top speed very quickly. So our friend here, he's running the turbo, the rammer, and the vertical stabilizer. In my first game, I showed you turbo, gun rammer, and optics, because I prefer optics and I want to be able to spot out my enemies. I want to have maximum view range. I want to spot for myself, and that is what works for me. It is not wrong to run your tank with vertical stabilizers, or even if you don't like the turbo, that is fine. My video here today is to show you what other options you have besides running a vertical stabilizer. In fact, our friend here, without the optics like I had in my configuration, I prefer the optics so that I can get some spotting damage, some assisted damage. I don't feel that this gun needs any kind of gun improvement, because I'm not going to be shooting while I'm on the move a lot. Most of my shots, just like this guy here, he's going to be stopping before he fires his gun. He's not driving forward and firing his gun at the same time, right? That is why my argument against the vertical stabilizer, for my kind of playstyle anyway. Who knows, you could like driving around and not stopping and firing your gun at the same time. That could be your playstyle. A vertical stabilizer could work for you better than for me. I'm not here to judge you. I'm just showing you what I prefer. I prefer running the turbo, the optics, and the rammer, because the turbo is going to give me better power to weight ratio, which means my agility is going to be improved. Just like our friend here with the turbo, He doesn't have the optics like I do in my first game, but he does have the turbo, which means his power to weight ratio is better. He has the rammer, which means his reload time is not as stated there, 9.2 seconds. In fact, his reload time is 7.76 seconds. Of course, if he has BIA and runs food as well, which he is not running food, for your information. He is running only the fire extinguisher. I prefer running food in most of my tier 8, tier 9, tier 10 tanks because I feel they don't catch on fire very often to begin with. When I run food, what does food do for you? It decreases your dispersion by 0.2. So from a stock dispersion of 0.29, your accuracy 0.29. As soon as you run food in any kind of tank that you own, as soon as you throw food into your crew consumables, your dispersion will come down 0.02, which means our friend's dispersion right now is not 0.27 because he's not running food. If he's running a crew with a BIA, it is probably 0.28 dispersion. Again, whether it's 0.27 or 0.28 or 0.29, regardless, and E50 has stock 0.29 dispersion, which is already incredibly amazing. Even if you didn't run food, just like our friend here, he's not running food. He's going to save his 20,000 credits or 10,000 credits when it's on sale. He's going to save those credits, put it in the bank, and instead run a fire extinguisher, which I don't agree with. I don't run fire extinguishers in these kinds of tanks because I cherish the kind of accuracy that I will need to perform at peak. If I may say so. If I want peak performance, peak accuracy, I want to run food. I'd rather not run the fire extinguisher, but you're going to see our friend here do extremely well. He's done over 6,300 damage because he had a turbo on and he was able to get into that early dominant position before the enemies could take that position, before the enemies could dominate or contest that position. He managed to get there first, in part because of his added agility, added speed, because of his turbo, and the makeup of his tank, which is an E50, a very good armored medium tank. He managed to get into that position early and managed to hold it with his armor. He managed to bounce over 2,000 damage with his up armored E50. And if you look at the post-game results, he got a first class there doing nearly 6,700 damage, and best of all, even without running food, he managed to hit 19 out of his 21 shots. He landed 19 out of his 21 shots, nearly a 90% hit ratio, and out of those 19 shots, he penned 18 of them. This is the new E50M buffed. Leave a comment, let me know, let Wargaming know what you think about this really OP strong tank. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.